Hey, and welcome to the first episode of the revamped Your Favorite Wrestling Podcast. This is the first new show that will be added to Shades of Blue Network. Yes, I'm sure a few of you just hit play on the show, just expecting Man City or just general football talk. Just warn you here, you won't get much football talk, and if you do, chances are only one of us will be speaking highly of one club and the other one of us will be speaking negatively of the other club.
Guaranteed.
So please pay attention to the podcast graphics, or honestly just listen to every show that will be coming onto the network. Please give the show 5 stars, rate, review, comment before I even tell you what the show is. Thumbs up, baby. All those things. So I am CrunkChocolate, creator of Shades of Blue Network. Hi, hello, how's it going? And this is your favorite wrestling podcast. Formerly was your favorite wrestling show. My previous co-host, I don't know what he's up to anymore.
You took the show with him.
Right? Well, I mean, the concept was mine. I brought him on. I thought the vibes would be good, but the vibes weren't good. So I just had to step back and focus on Shades of Blue in general. And I told the dude we were going to come back, and he didn't want to come back. So the amazing voice that you're hearing other than mine is my new show bro, the new show bro, Shady Gang. You get used to this wonderful personality. He is part of FTC for the Culture Soccer Podcast United. Shout out to them. He is Greggo. He's technically an OG in the football content community for me. So this is a really dope opportunity to be able to work and build with him. Greggo, how you doing? How you feeling?
First of all, it's been a long ass day. Yeah, just I'm in the process of we're getting ready for She Believes Cup. That's
Let's
my
go.
one little soccer plug for this weekend. Got us here at FTC, homegirls at Shea Butter FC.
Shout out to
It's
them.
about to be a movie out here in Atlanta this weekend, and I'm ready for it. And of course, there's so much going on this weekend. Like you got She Believes Cup. You got the Final Four this weekend, which it just so happens that for those y'all that don't know, I'm from North Carolina. My dad played football at NC State, so I kind of grew up in NC State playing. So this weekend we have both the men and the women both in the Final Four. Like the first time in ages, especially for the men, because the last time they made the Final Four, they won it all in 1983 when I was like a little bitty baby. And so just the fact that they've made this miracle run, like the women, they've been all right the past few years. So this was their second time the past 3 years. But the fact the men did it and the way that they've been doing it, I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to stay alive this weekend and catch everything, but rest assured, it will happen. And it's good vibes. We linked up a few weeks ago on one of your shows, and I was like I just happened to just mention this just very random. I'm like, yeah, because I didn't know that you also had a wrestling podcast, and I was like, well, shit, let's do something together and make this work. And because I tried something a few years back, and it was way too many cooks in the kitchen for that show, and I was just like, I know I have a lot to say when it comes to wrestling because I've been watching for. I put it like this: my longest relationship is with wrestling. I'm just gonna I guess it's been going on a solid 35 years. I'm 41 now, so yeah, pretty much when I was like 5 or 6. So yeah, we got loads of history here to work with. Like I said, I have tons of useless information to just go ahead and just spit up to the world.
People watching the video just watching me wrestle with my glasses. I left my lens cleaner in the living room and my shirt was not working, so no glasses for this episode. It looks like I grew up with wrestling like most people, and sadly many, I fell out of love with it. The 2010 time. That was kind of like a dark time for wrestling, and I
Mm-hmm.
just wasn't feeling it. In comes don't I hate saying it because it just brings back awful memories, but here comes COVID and shut everything down for 3 months where I lived. Everything was
Mm-hmm.
closed for 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
That was when, I just had free time. I was getting just like drunk by noon every day, and I was just like, I gotta figure out something better with my time. And I
Right.
went a whole year back from that time and just took in all the wrestling, watched every episode, and I've just been locked in for the last 3 years now. 4, and then I
So
went back a year.
so it's funny that you say that. So like when the pandemic hit down here, of course, I am in Atlanta, but I'm also in Georgia. And so of course being in Georgia, our governor made sure it's like, hey, y'all aren't really closed like that. You go ahead and do what you want. So nonetheless, there was a period of time where I was out of work. And what I did was two things. One, and I happened to talk about this earlier today on Twitter. I did like a whole rewatch of the show Dallas, like the one with J.R. Ewing and all them. I did a whole rewatch of that.
So
And
random.
but I also did a rewatch of all of the old NWA Crockett shows, like 605 shows, like from back in the day. Like I went as far back as I could go. I think the oldest show that they had was like 1985,
Mm.
and I went all the way up to they start getting kind of janky with the episodes around like 1989, 1990, and I was like, yeah, like and it's crazy to me like how the one thing I learned, well, a couple things I learned was that one, and it's funny because obviously it's funny how things just come back around, especially when it comes to the current product. Storytelling is really, really important.
Yes.
And I think that it's a lost art because obviously back then you were still dealing with the end of the territory there, so you still had a bunch of areas that were able to give you a bunch of different type of stories all over the place. Now you're pretty much dealing with WWE, AEW, and TNA to a smaller extent, and it's something that like there's not as many cooks as there used to be, and you're like, oh, like when you really get a good story, it's like, yeah, this is what I like, and it's I'm pretty sure whether it be this episode or the future episodes, like you'd be like, yeah, like this is why you keep this is why people tune into the show. This is why people go to the shows. This is why people like us make podcasts and be like, yeah, like this shit. When it's good, it's so fucking good. It's so good, and it's like we're running into definitely a high time, at least for one side of the tracks. And like I said, I'm pretty sure we'll go into that. But yeah, like it's funny like how the pandemic just makes you kind of just roll back the years and just be like, ah, that's why I like wrestling. I get it. I get it now. It makes sense now. Well, the one thing I couldn't stand was that how the old man kept dubbing over all the old theme songs. I was like, dog, like y'all are killing me with this old shit. like who told you to make this song over the Rock and Roll Express? Like, come on now, what are we doing?
It was some wild times back then. And you're definitely right about the long term, well, storytelling in general. And I'm very happy that WWE has finally embraced that again instead of just trying to get a payoff or just some sort of reaction from the crowd and not really caring how you got there.
Mm-hmm.
And what else should we start with than doing a WrestleMania 40 preview? And how this episode will work is we'll go from day 1 to day 2. I will start from the early and get to the end. I know a lot of wrestling podcasts for some reason they start with like the main event first, and no fools, you guys are going to listen to our whole
All
episode.
matches matter.
right? Our skip to the end. But I mean, obviously, it's gonna be a vibe either way. So some of these matches we might take our time and dissect and dig into. Some we might move on quickly. I mean, some of these, I feel like most of the stories in these matches for the WrestleMania are great, but I guess some of them I'm less connected to, or I care less about. So I'm very interested to see which ones you care about. But if you want to keep up with us other than being subscribed to us in Shades of Blue Network, you can at us because we are on Twitter/X, we're on Instagram, and we're on Threads. You can find us by searching at YFW Podcast, your favorite wrestling podcast, YFW Podcast. And then you can follow the network by finding us on any social media app by searching Shades of Blue NW, as in Shades of Blue Network.
All right. I might have to change that color. I might have to change that color. Shades of red. How about
that? Oh, it's funny too, because we're bringing a United and an Arsenal podcast actually to our network this upcoming season.
It's going to end up being Shades of Purple and be like, who does that?
And I definitely pitched the Shades of Red to both of them, and they were like being nice because I'm just the executive producer. And it was like, we'll put it on the list. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I just would like, Shades of Red, and if we can just get like a Shades of all of it, it'd be fun. I think it'd be fun. I even thought about this. I was like, how could I do like Shades of Wrestling? No, that doesn't make any sense. Oh man. But let's get into this day one. Rey Mysterio versus Dragon Lee. Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee versus Santos Escobar and Dominik Mysterio. I love the idea of Rey Mysterio and Dominik. I love that story, even though they kind of like got rid of it and obviously are dragging it back. But I mean, it's father and son. It
just came back like out of nowhere. It's like, oh,
out of nowhere. And the whole Dragon, honestly, I will just get to it. I have no idea why Dragon Lee is here other than trying to like lift him up. And what I don't understand what Triple H's fascination with Dragon Lee is. Like, he's an amazing performer and he's doing great, but I feel like there's just like something missing with him. And I don't know if it's
he's still finding his way.
Yeah, he's not great at promo, but I mean, that's obviously his accent. His English isn't his first language. It's going to take some time.
And so a couple things there. Again, like the way they just snuck Dominik into this LWO versus La Fantasma angle. I was like, oh, that's just like, it's random, but it was smooth as shit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when they unveiled Dragon Lee as first the newest member of the LWO and also Rey Mysterio's partner for the match, I was like, huh. And more importantly, I think the audience, the live audience that was there for SmackDown, they were both like, oh, cause like there was no pop whatsoever
at all. None.
Like there's still the tribal chief's words, no pop. And like, I don't know if it was on purpose, but they definitely caught Carlito's face when he made the announcement. It was like because you gotta keep in mind that that Carlito has had angle with Santos also as well during these months, especially while Rey Mysterio was out. So it's like, yeah, like I'm pretty sure he would want to get in on that feud as well.
1,000%.
And that didn't happen. So it's I feel like there's definitely room for a turn, but I also feel like depending on how the rest of the show goes and the potential turns that might happen in those matches, do you want to go ahead and you don't want to overload the show on turns because by the time you get to the big turn, they'll be like, well, we already saw one early in the show. It's like it's not a big of a wow factor anymore. So you I think that for one, I think that Santos and Dominik are going to get this dub real quick, and I'm going to guess at some point it's probably going to be another Rey versus Dominik match, but like I said, it's one of those that it's been very clumsy, but I figure, hey, it's like, hey, you're at WrestleMania, why not go for it?
Honestly, I understand why why he wouldn't want Carlito. Shout out to him, but he has a horrendous win-loss record in WWE. He has a 39.77% of the matches he wins. So like,
Carlito?
yeah, Carlito. He's like, yes, the crowd loves him, but Mans is a serial loser. And
I mean, you know, the way that they've used the LWO for like a good chunk of their whole existence, because they pretty much got started this time last year. And I feel like, especially like those first few months, I was like, they made this group just to lose all the time because back then it was like whether it was Selena, the other two guys that never get talked about, or even Ray himself. I was like, how are you U.S. champion and you stay losing? Like make that one make sense.
Mhm.
And I feel like it was just like you're pushing this, but y'all are losing. Like that doesn't sound right to me. And then of course when Carlito came in, of course, for whatever reason, it took forever for him to finally come back because he had that one great moment at Backlash last year, and it was like, well, I guess he's gonna come at some point, but just didn't know when.
Right.
And yeah, he finally came in, and like, yeah, you're losing too. So, like I said, I feel like whatever reason that was used for this, it's to serve another L. So yeah.
And it's interesting because I mean, both teams have kind of been winning and losing inconsistently. Even Santos Escobar, he's kind of been up and down. And obviously, you got to get Dominik in there. And technically, Dominik and his dad Ray have already done WrestleManias together. So, and I know this whole idea of Ray, while he's still here, his whole thing is I'm going to try to uplift as many Mexican Latinos, Latinas, as many of my people as possible. Like first he got it
Mhm.
with his son, and now Dragon Lee, Santos Escobar. Obviously, you see a whole bunch is about to start happening. I love it, but I guess I'm only locked in because it's Rey Mysterio, and I mean I love Dominik. Like anything he does, he's great. I low key love heels. That is my, and I mean, and that's not even like an original thing anymore. But I love heels. Like I love being the bad guy myself. So in just the heat Dom gets just for walking in a spot. So you know he's there more for the heat than he is to wrestle, but he's also an underrated wrestler. I think this is a chance for him to step up. They're both him and Santos are big dudes, so Dragon Lee and Ray will be able to get their stuff off. Obviously, Dragon Lee will do most of the flipping and stuff and help protect Rey Mysterio.
Mm.
I I know Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee have to win. Chances are Dragon Lee will get the pin
I
because
don't know.
it.
I think this one's setting up pretty well for Santos and Dominic. I feel like, especially because I feel like this is going to be a way to keep that Dominic and Ray story going. I feel like you have to have Dom get a win. Now, I think in fact they'll probably use Dom. They use Dragon Lee to take the pin instead of Ray. So yeah.
That's how you see it. Okay. Yeah.
But like,
Well.
but it's so weird with Dragon Lee because I feel like
Yes.
they're trying to basically create another Ray, and I'm like,
Uh huh.
Ray is such a unique persona, character, gimmick, wrestler, all of that, and like you have to strike light in the bottle there because especially in the world of the WWE, he's not like Rey Mysterio was never supposed to work because you take someone that's that small
Hmm.
and in a land of pretty much the literal giants and he was able to get over. Now I understand like you want to try to replicate that concept on somebody else, but it takes I think a special personality to make that happen. I actually think that the person that they should like the person that they should be focusing on to basically be the eventual Ray replacement is actually Santos. Because Santos carries so much Eddie energy, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
So much. I'm like, dog, like that's your guy. That's your guy. And I'm so happy that he turned heel. You have no idea. I'm like, dog, just let him cook. Let him cook.
No, I'm with you. All right. Well, we're actually on different ends because I think Santos and Dom might win, and you are on the side of Ray, Mysterio, and Dragon Lee, which makes sense. I'm actually gonna keep track of these. It's who's on what side. It'll be a good way to start. All right, so possibly okay. So what do you want to talk about first? Next, we can either do.
Let's do
Actually, I
the
like.
six pack. Let's do the
That's what.
six
Yeah,
pack.
that's what I was thinking too. Because I was like, actually, I kind of want to sit and talk about Bianca, Naomi, and Jade. Like, I think that's gonna be a good conversation. The 6-pack ladder match for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships. Judgment Day, Damian Priest and Finn Bálor versus the Awesome Truth, the Miz and R-Truth, DIY, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, the New Day, New Catch Republic, which I hate that name so much, and A Town Down Under.
I hate that. I didn't realize they actually merged it. I'm like, please no. But yeah.
See, and it's funny because I like it just because it's so stupid, but
It's so stupid.
and it's a name that they call it that name, but that name never pops up on the Jumbotron. But I think it's just because it's entirely too long. A Town Down Under, like I don't know. I would love for so let's just agree here. The undisputed titles are getting split, correct? They're each Raw and SmackDown's going to get one again. They're going to get their own because they've already announced that they're being hung up separately.
Interesting. I didn't catch. That must have been on Raw because I missed about half of Raw on Monday. But
yeah, they said it on Raw.
If that's the case, then okay.
Oh, not enthused? You don't like that? You like the idea of keeping it undisputed?
I feel like I can understand why they're doing it because I feel like the same outlook that they have regarding the world title, you can pretty much apply that to pretty much all the belts because even for all the talent that they cut over the pandemic, they still have a massive roster.
And honestly, I feel like this is better. I'm happy they cut the people that they cut. I enjoyed some of the people that they did lose, but this, like honestly, watching an episode now, like specifically last even Mondays, I was just like, dang, match after match after match after match.
Yeah.
It's just like banger after banger. It really is. They're doing great. Sorry,
And that's the thing, like they never like I could understand 15, 10 years ago having that many wrestlers under one roster because back then it was pretty much the only show more or less was WWE.
Right.
Now you're in a space where you have AEW, even TNA is trying to show their big boy pants again. Like you don't need all of this under one roof. Like let those people that you know you're just not going to need go do their own thing. And they said if they happen to get better and you want to bring them back, cool. But you don't need all of those guys. And I think that the product has benefited from that because it's been far more clarity. Of course, the change at the top definitely helped out a whole lot in that regard. And but yeah, like the saying often goes in wrestling, less is more, and it was definitely the case here.
Yeah. And honestly, not about nothing, but I don't think they're doing enough with the belts. I want to see hardcore title back. I want to see cruiserweight back. Maybe not hardcore because that style of wrestling really isn't as popular anymore. But I would love to see the cruiserweight back. Like, could you imagine Ricochet? Ricochet would be the greatest cruiserweight champion of all time.
Oh, that's the thing. So, like today, they actually debuted their new show, WWE Speed,
and I hate it.
I fucking hate you already watched it?
I watched the not Shelton Benjamin, Braun Strowman, big Aussie dude. I watched a couple of the matches. They're fun. It's just a bunch of what's the name of big moves. It's just like Big move after
spots.
big. Yeah, it's just a bunch of spots. That's all it is. It's just spot
Mm.
after spot after spot, reversal, end. And whoever and it's just like like a Law and Order SVU. Whenever a celebrity pops up, you're like, oh, that's the murderer. That's whoever the bad guy is. So that's just how speed is. Whoever the most popular person is, that's who's gonna win.
I mean, I was talking about this on Facebook the other day, and like, I get the idea of what they're trying to do, because apparently the speed concept, that's something that they've been doing over in Japan,
Mm.
and I'm like, okay, of course, I'm sure at some point we'll talk about AEW and their abundance and affinity for everything Japanese. But I am quick to always check people and say we are not the same audience as them. Like
Oh, not at all.
what works for Japan doesn't always work for us, and what works for us doesn't always work for them. And I think that my concern is that kind of like what happened with the 205 um, junior heavyweight belt. It was like you try to integrate it into the main show, and then you're just like, okay, let's just go ahead and put it on Peacock and the network and just forget about it. And I'm like, you still have to figure out a way to keep the guys that are going to be involved in that back. It's still connected to the main product, so that way they still stay relevant for everything else. Because otherwise, you get stuck in that one spot, and you're like, yeah, God, it's so fast, it's too much speed, I can't do anything else. That's all you ever get used for, and that's
Yeah.
never good.
Yeah, and I could totally like sure bring up a speed champ, but like I feel like that feels very similar to like the 24/7 title. It's just like it's more gimmicky than anything, and I feel like they need to use that to make the lesser known people relevant, not
Mhm.
use some of their more popular people, or
Yeah.
even use some of the like older names. Like I honestly, that should be like soft NXT. I don't know. It just especially because I know that it's gonna be ending in three. Like I guess to some people that sounds exciting, but also I don't sit on one thing on Twitter for 3 minutes. So that's also kind of the crazy thing. It's just like
I mean, I have a love hate thing as far as like people who expect others to just sit on a computer or worse, their phone, and watch like a whole 30-minute, hour-long show. I'm like, you are out of your mind. I'm like I'm not 23 and I have only lived off a phone. I'm like put it on the TV, and then we can go from there. But like I said, I'm going to at least hold out hope for this and see like how they. Like I said, it's all about how to utilize it and keep it connected to the main product. 'Cause otherwise, all you end up doing is just seeing those guys on Twitter, basically, then this does nothing for anybody. So yeah.
well, and this obviously our
Oh yeah,
we
as far as
tangent
the winner goes,
we pivoted over to WWE Speed. It shows you how interested we are in this 6-pack ladder match.
yeah, I
Okay,
was gonna say, I'm gonna go with the upset and go Miz and Truth.
so you think they're gonna get both titles? You don't think it's gonna get
Oh
split up?
I'm not. I mean, however they do, I know Miz and Truth getting one of them.
A
That's all I
thousand
got.
percent, a thousand
Yeah.
percent. And I think I would technically love New Day to get it because they just deserve, especially with what happened with Big E, and because they were on before Big E got hurt, they were doing a really good job, and they were on a like an upward trajectory, about to like get that heat back and get.
Mhm.
I mean, everybody loves them, but they were starting to get some wins. They were starting to have some fun again. And then Big E got taken out, and then they were like taken off of television for a little bit, naturally, because they were probably taking care of their friend, and now Big E will probably never return, and I mean in the nicest way. He had the most promise at this moment because he was like the youngest and all of that stuff. It bums me out. So I think, and it sounds awful me being like, give them like a sympathy belt, but I mean,
Mhm.
they did what they did to Kofi during Kofi Mania, where he had it and won it and then lost it sadly quickly. So I don't know. We're in this world where there are so many tag champs, and the tag champs stay forever. Put Kofi, put the New Day in some like real dope new who's a battle, and then I don't know. I would love to see it split up in two. I want to see, because tag teams are back. Obviously, tag teams are back. They're trying to get to trios. I think
I hope not.
this.
I hope not. I
You're
hope
not a
not.
fan of
Like,
trios?
I mean, it kind of convolutes the tag division itself, and it's like just like I said, like if you need trios, just like the simple solution here is split the belts up so that way each show has their own thing instead of like
Mhm.
trying to overpopulate and then convolute the actual two-man tag division. Just split those belts up. And that way you can build up a division over here, build up a division over here, and hopefully we're back to 1986 WWF and you just
Mm.
have tag teams that are just bonkers all over the place.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. Okay, I lied. I'm sorry, New Day, because I think they're gonna give it to New Catch, because they're gonna have,
I hope not.
because like they love New Catch and their story's decent. They're technically like technical wrestlers, and that's good. And we know Triple H loves that. But also, truth, they're fun. They're probably going to be people who won't wrestle often, but they're going to be on television all the time. But they probably won't have. They might do like back to back title matches in like 2 weeks, but then it wouldn't surprise me if they don't wrestle again until another pay per view, and it's just story building.
Now, assuming we go ahead and split these belts up, I'll probably say whichever the other belts are, I think those would go to the Theory and Waller, because I personally I feel like this is a good spot for
Yeah.
both of those guys. I feel like they actually like. I hear a lot of mixed opinions on both Theory, but especially Waller. And I'm like, I remember when they moved Waller up to the main roster, and I was like, I think they gave him Edge, Orton, Sheamus. I was like, you're giving him
Uh huh.
home run hitters right off the gate. So like clearly somebody sees something in him. And it's just a matter of you got to clean up his presentation, because if there's ever anybody who screamed Miz back when he first got started with the dumb mohawk and the Jinko jean shorts is Waller. I'm like, these boxing shorts ain't working. These like figure out your presentation and you'll get there. And of course, Theory, that dude's a prodigy. So I'm like, it's just a matter of he's got to get some age on him, that skin got to get a little weathered and everything. He'll be him, Braun Breaker, Montez Ford, and mm, and Trick. That's going to be your future in about 5 years. Period.
I'm all on the Trick train. He's definitely a star, and I feel really bad for Mello, but we're not here for that. But honestly, I'm with you with Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. I enjoy both of them, and I'm I'm the type of wrestling fan that the diehards hate, because I'm just like, yeah, it's whatever. And even I will find a way to enjoy it even when it's bad. And that's kind of what I enjoy about. I mean, I haven't watched AEW in a while because I don't have YouTube TV anymore. But that's what I particularly enjoyed about AEW is like those cringe moments. That's kind of wrestling. The best thing about wrestling is that it's a nice mixture of really cool and kind of cringe and awkward. WWE, when you're nailing it all the time and you're super cool like you are, it's just like sometimes it's kind of boring. It's just like sometimes I want bad. Sometimes I like what her name is, Dupree. Like I like that she comes on and she can't wrestle and she's struggling, but she's trying to figure it out. It's good to see the process, even though I know WWE is technically like the supposed finished product. So if someone pops on TV, they should look great. But sometimes, it's good to see green workers, to know that this isn't like a picture perfect thing. I don't know.
I mean, I think that, of course, she might be one of the few exceptions on the main roster right now, because I feel like it's very hard to once you make a first impression, it's very hard to stray to have a do over basically. Because like
Mhm.
I'm sure we'll talk about it as far as with the Final Testament and carrying cross. I'm like I feel like he's still struggling from how they first presented him on the main roster.
Facts.
Um, and but like in Maxine Dupree, of course, you had her, you had Max Dupree, who
Yeah,
of course went back to be an LA Knight. I'm like
that was the best thing for him.
they've both surprisingly have managed to shake off that initial presentation and be something halfway decent, you know. And I feel like in Maxine's case, I think that everybody can't be Charlotte Flair. Everybody can't be Bianca Belair, where it's like you're just this genius from day one. Whereas you're gonna have some people who have to literally, um, grow up in front of your eyes,
Mhm.
and it doesn't help that she's probably easy on the eyes for a lot of people out there. And um, but
Her
I
character
think
work is
that
great. Her wrestling
yeah,
and
yeah,
that explains why they took so long to get her into wrestling. And then we saw her wrestle, and you're just like, oh, she can't even like help
yeah. But
help her
I think
teammates
they're
lift
working
her
it.
up.
But the way they work that into the story
Yes.
has actually been pretty interesting, and I
Yes.
think that that's something that again, it's not meant to be perfect, and that's okay here because I feel like that's the way they're utilizing it makes like it at least explains it to where it's like, oh, you're they're telling you like, yeah, they don't want you here because you're new and you know how to wrestle and you're just here because you're pretty. I'm like, let's figure out how to turn that into that supposed negative into a positive and see what happens from there. I said like it's not something that has to pay off right away. It's something that can really you could probably take a good year or two to really see how she grows and maybe she does become a contender and we'll see what happens from there.
Yeah, agreed. Uh yeah, but it definitely helps that she is traditionally very attractive. Like she's,
Yeah,
skinny, face is even, all those
blonde.
things. Yeah,
Yeah,
blonde, yeah.
yeah. She definitely looks like a fembot, but hey, to each his own.
And she is a really good character. She is a great actress, so I will give her that. Her character work is great. And yes, the wrestling will just have to get there. And it's even funny because they have her tied with Ivy, and Ivy, her wrestling is great, but her character work is horrendous. So you get to watch them kind of like teach each other,
Yeah.
which is really cool to see. Okay, well then let's keep it moving. Let's do the women's 3-on-3. Bianca Belair, Naomi, Jade Cargill, versus Damage Control, Dakota Kai, Asuka, and Kairi Sane. I know this is technically so this match actually protects two people, one on each side. Uh
Mhm.
Asuka, who is recently injured herself. She's still been at the shows weekly and been doing some stuff, but uh just last week, was it Monday, there was a moment where she tried to do something and you saw her land on her knee and she definitely like hopped for a second. And because she's been injured, I think this is where it pivoted, because I truly think they were going to just do like Bianca and Jade for the titles. But Jade is also the other person on their team that they need to protect, because we're not quite sure what she can and can't do. A lot of people see, and I wish I had a deeper eye, a more technical eye for wrestling. There's a lot of people, say that Jade still has so much to go, and I understand that, but
I mean, it all depends on what your expectation is
right,
because I feel like and it's something that like honestly I feel like it should be more obvious, but apparently it's not. People have to understand that skills aren't created equal. And the thing about it is they're not supposed to be equal. Let's say you have a guy that's 7 foot tall, 350 pounds. Are you expecting them to wrestle the same way as someone that's 5'8", maybe 200 pounds, and you know, obviously not as strong, not not as powerful, doesn't make any sense. Like the stories that you have to tell with each person is entirely different. And so like it makes no sense that you would have to have Omos trying to wrestle like Daniel Bryan. It makes no sense. None at all. And in the same vein, are you going to have Jade Cargill wrestle like Serena Deeb? No. It doesn't make sense. Like you have someone who's much more physical, much more stronger, and can do different shit. And so it's like it's almost kind of in the same way of like you have this unique presence. How are you going to keep her unique for as long as you can, and still obviously keep her elevated on the card? And I think that for her, of course, I'm sure over the next few shows we'll probably go into whatever went right in AEW for her and whatever went right and went wrong in AEW in general. I feel like one thing I actually picked up on very quickly when she came out on SmackDown this past Friday was her timing when she put that boot to Asuka. I was like, that's a whole lot better
Yes.
because I remember she would do that same boot to a bunch of girls in AEW, and I was like, it never felt like she ever got her timing right. And it's like just that little bit, just the little things go a long way in making sure that she looks the best that she can whenever she's out there. And of course, the way that they fed her and made her look like $1,000,000. It's like, hey, it doesn't take much. It's just a matter of just making sure that you're in the right place at the right time, they're at the right place at the right time, and we're off to the races. I think that this match is definitely going to serve as a good presentation for her. I'm hoping that with this addition to what they were already developing with Naomi and Bianca, I'm pretty sure a turn's going to come. It just had to come right away. So I feel like let them bond, let that become a thing, and then I'm pretty sure at some point we'll see the eventual jealousy and bitchiness and all that shit will come out, and that'll become a story in itself. But I feel like that moment that you had this past Friday when you had them closing the show because you've never really seen that before, you had them pointing up to the sign. It's like that's the type of shit. It's like like that's a moment right there. It's like
Mm-hmm.
let's get what we can out of that, and then eventually when we got to go make the real money, that'll be its own thing as well. But let it be known that that moment on Friday, that was a pretty dope ass moment.
It was. And they look great. I worry about Naomi so badly. Like, we know she's the third wheel in this. And ever since she's been back, she's low-key been treated like a third wheel. So I'm just worried that because I already see that that's who Jade's gonna like when the turn happens. She's gonna take out Naomi. She's gonna beat down Naomi, and it's
Yeah,
just like, when is she gonna get anything? And I don't see what she can get like other than somehow a tag team title with somebody else. But
and
she's never gonna be able to get in that championship conversation. Like she's just
it's
between
it's
everybody else
it's
who's around her. It's tough.
it's very interesting the way that the women's division has suddenly developed. Because, like, mind you, like we're still in a space where Charlotte's not around,
Mm-hmm.
um, and you know, like they missed out on Mercedes,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like even if she had come back, it's like where exactly do you put her? Because right now, like the top end of the women's roster is stacked to beyond infinity. Like it's
It's
absolutely
crazy.
insane.
Yes.
And like I know people try to shine on TNA's women division, but I'm like that top end of WWE, that's all time great. I mean, Rhea, Bianca, Becky, Charlotte, Asuka. Like you can go. There's never been a time in WWE history where they've had women this good in their division ever. And to the point where you could honestly take your time at least a little bit with Jade, and to so that way by the time she is at the point where it's just you can't deny her being in the top spot, like that would be unheard of probably 10 years ago. So we're in a purple patch, as the people will say.
Yeah, and I'm just like flipping through, like they've been able to just like let Raquel Rodriguez just take like a whole year off. She took like 6 months off. She came back for 3 weeks. On vacation again.
Like, exactly. It's like
what is
that.
Happening?
That says a lot. That says a lot about where they are right now. Like you still got her there. You still got Alexa Bliss, who just who had a baby last year. She's now back to training again. Like, and then you have all the women who were in NXT right now. I'm like, dog, like it's an embarrassment of riches right now. Like it's a lot going on. It's a good time to be a women's wrestler. And it's definitely a good time to be a women's wrestler in WWE.
Facts.
Yes, Jade, Bianca, and Naomi for the win.
Yes, 1,000%. Jey Uso versus Jimmy Uso. This match should be so cool, but I am like not really. I'm happy for them. I'm happy for the brothers to be able to play each other, wrestle each other in WrestleMania, because this is like a childhood dream come true. But I don't know. It's tough to heat this story up.
It's weird because they are absolutely fantastic characters. Yes. Fantastic. They know how to. They deliver on every promo, every vignette, anything that you do for them backstage or in an in-ring promo. They deliver in spades. For whatever reason, and this actually even goes back to when they were a tag team, the curl doesn't curl quite right. And you're just like, it kind of leaves you it's a lot of empty calories. Is a sub that ever gets you full. I feel like the only match I've ever seen them give where it actually made me full was the match last year at Mania against KO and Sami Zayn. Other than that, it's like it doesn't do it for me. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure. And it's funny because apparently they had an interview maybe either last year or maybe the year before last, where they talk about how their dream match was to have a match against each other, because it would go back to pretty much like when they were kids and, having those fights when they were growing up. And I'm going to say this is probably actually going to be a sleeper hit match. Because I feel like they're going to make sure that even if they never do this again, it's something that people remember. So I'm holding out hope for them, but yeah, it's just for whatever reason the dots don't always connect there.
Over under 15 super kicks.
Oh God.
Like it's gonna be awful.
It's gonna be no less than 10. It's definitely going double digits. Definitely double digits.
And because I think all the shenanigans is gonna be in the Rock, Roman, Seth, Cody match. I'm not sure who comes in and bring shenanigans to this match. I know this might be a match that they let go clean because they know all the other matches involve
Pop's got to show up. Pop's got to show up. Rikishi got to show up. He got to, absolutely has to.
Does what though? Like, because I feel like he can't show up and the only way that happens is he shows up and he squashes it though. But he squashes it. Because I don't know how he shows up and it doesn't get squashed, and he just goes, "Stop fighting your brothers."
You know what? Actually, that can work as well, because that can serve important for the big tag match, and then the night after. So that could still work. So just because it's nothing big doesn't mean it's not important, especially with how they've been so you normally detailed. They've been paying attention to details with the bloodline story, so that can work. That could actually work.
And honestly, I think Rikishi showing up to squash everything makes sense, especially because Rhea Ripley did her Rikishi tribute a couple weeks ago, and that felt super random. And
I'll tell
most of the
you,
time, it's not.
Rhea Ripley's a special woman. That's all I can say.
Oh, 1,000%, 1,000%, 1,000%. She's she's Triple H is joyful thinking about Rhea. Wow, my brain melted. Rhea, Bianca, and Jade Cargill. Like, just thinking about those three.
I know where your mind's going, and I actually have a nickname for that, because you know how they used to say WWE used to land of the Giants. The women's division is land of the Chinas.
Yeah.
Tell me where I'm telling lies. Tell me where I'm telling lies.
No, it's 1,000%, and that's exactly where I was gonna go. I was like, China's looking down at Rhea Ripley and smiling huge, like huge. Like if there is any,
if you're tall and got some muscle, Triple H got a spot for you.
1,000%, and she's doing great. And even right now, she's in this weird little moment where you can sense a character change, but she's not gonna like change who she is. And I like that they're doing this with a few wrestlers where they're bad, but it's only because it's like their mindset. What they're doing necessarily isn't bad. They still technically see themselves as like good people, but it's just the way that they're going at it is just not good. And I love that, because it's like it makes the fan be like, okay, I can see myself a little in them, because I would be upset if this happened to me, and maybe I would take somebody out. There's more like understanding than just like, no, you're a bad guy, so you have to do bad things. You're a good person, so you got to do good things. I love it. Okay, so Rikishi comes in and squashes it. I'd prefer that, because I don't want Jimmy to lose, because he's already like the laughing act part of that side of the bads of the Usos, that whole family. And Jay, even if he beats his brother, I don't really know like what he gets out of that, because it doesn't really lift him too much, because it's just his brother. It's just the story, and his brother isn't that relevant of like a big name in wrestling either. So it's just,
I mean, usually they're better together than apart. And of course, Jay laid that egg a couple weeks ago, as far as saying, "I miss you, Oos." And I feel like, if he had it his way, they probably would still be together. And I feel like this would easily just find an avenue to where it's like you end up linking back up, and more than likely be right back with the bloodline by night 2. So there's that.
Okay. All right. Well, let's keep it moving. Intercontinental Championship. Gunther, who is the champion, taking on Sami Zayn. And as much as I would love Sami to win, and they're kind of setting it up for him to be like the long shot winner, he cannot beat Gunther. This can, like, as dominant as Gunther has been, as fantastic as he has been for the last almost 2 years now. He, like, for him to lose to Sami Zayn, which Sami Zayn earns it and he deserves it, but
it would be mad random.
I wouldn't like it.
Yeah, no.
Would it be this? You give it to Sami, and then Gunther comes back on Monday and beats him down and takes the title back? Even then, that feels worse.
No, because I feel like one of two things can happen there. Either Sami wins it and he drops it right away to somebody else, maybe Chad Gable, or you have Gunther retain, and then he's the one that drops it like on Monday, and to someone that's like brand new. Well, I'm not even sure how that. Well,
Braun Breaker.
Yeah, but I'm like, if he's
Oh,
on
but he's
SmackDown, how would
SmackDown.
that work? But of course,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
maybe they have, since everybody's going to still be in Philly, you can just be like, hey, I'm over here tonight. What's good? And there you go. But yeah, I definitely don't see Sammy winning this. It just honestly, I'm surprised that he's even in this spot because I feel like the only reason why he is there is because he had such a big spot last year, and it would just
Mhm.
be weird to just see go from pretty much two
Headlining.
big
Yeah,
matches, 2 years in a row, to suddenly you're just not on the show.
at all.
Like that would
Yeah,
just be weird.
yeah. And I think that's it. And they're getting him on, but if like it's if I mean I guess technically he won with KO last year, so that was a good story. But I just
Right.
like it if he ends up losing again, that's but hey, if he won last year, he can lose this year. So that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well we're both on under Gunther. We can just keep it moving from that because I think it's gonna be a great match. Like, don't get me wrong, it's gonna be a great match.
Oh
But
yeah. That's all good that does. I'm like honestly, I'm just waiting for him to just drop this belt so he can just be like, hey, I'm all about the world title because
exactly, and
yeah,
he's the only person who could lose his title and then show up next week and be like, "Yeah, that was old news. I don't care that I lost. I want the world championship now."
exactly.
He's the only person who could lose and immediately be like, "I want the next title." Like, and be like, yeah, that makes sense. uh, okay, women's world championship: Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch. They've been purposely keeping them away from each other for a while.
Mm-hmm.
This whole storyline is Becky needs to prove that she still has it against this new, young, dominant champion. Whereas Rhea Ripley needs to knock Becky Lynch off because that's just what you do. Rhea's kind of beat down almost all the other three horsewomen. So Becky is just on that list. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think Rhea should win, but Becky doesn't lose these matches, really.
I mean, she does. He does. I feel like ever since she uh, dropped it to Bianca a couple years ago, I feel like there's just been moments where like she's gotten close to winning the belt again, but just hasn't quite done it. And I think a little nugget there is that her contract is coming up in a couple months. Um, I think she'll resign, but just in case for whatever reason something random happens and she at least takes some time off, I feel like this would be a good time to, basically give the sign off on Rhea as pretty much, it's pretty much at this point it's her game right now. Like because she's younger than pretty much everybody else on the roster. She can do pretty much anything. She can take on the guys. She can dominate
Mm-hmm.
most of the women. I'm like, there really hasn't been, a woman that's come in like her in a long time. And mind you, she's still just 26. Like you probably got a solid 6 or 7 more years with this if she wants it. Because it's not like she ain't easy on the eyes. Like she would be the one I would actually look out for as far as, you know, be like, hey, what's going on with Hollywood? We'll see what's going on over here. Like,
Oh,
because
1,000%. I'm surprised she's not, honestly, already.
yeah. And I feel like, you know, appreciate these moments while you can because, you know, she might move on and she might not come back and then she might come back and she's still 35 and she can still dominate. So it's fucking unreal. Like we have something special right here. Like because for as good as everybody else is, they're not as young as she is,
No.
and that's insane.
And I mean this in the nicest way. If Trish Stratus could come back at 48 and do like a whole year killing it, like she was killing it, then Rhea Ripley can definitely come back.
I'm like you could literally have her take off, say that she retires at 30. So you still have another 4 years with her at the top here. Take off another 5 years since she's still just 25. I mean, 35. Like
Mm-hmm.
dog, like she's like there will never be a point in time for however long that she wrestles where she's not on top. Period.
Hey, and mommy likes being on top.
There it is.
Hey. All right, let's get to the final of night 1. The Rock and Roman Reigns, the final boss, versus Cody Rhodes and Seth freaking Rollins. Also, shout out to him because he's from my city, Seth Rollins. We actually go to the same coffee shop a lot, so I will see him. I see him and Becky a lot, and they actually don't like being talked to. So
you know
really
what? It's funny that you say that because I saw them down here at Piedmont Park last year. This is right around the time that they were talking about Seth was filming some scenes for one of the Marvel movies. I can't remember which one. And like they're in the park, they're with their daughter, and of course I'm recognizing that it's them, but I'm just like, I don't want to bother them like that. But at the same time, the one thing I did notice was that Becky is bigger than what people think.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, she's taller. Yeah.
She's taller and like it's hard to explain. Like she's like a wiry strong, and it's like it's just wound up pretty tight. Like obviously when you see it on TV, it looks slim, but when you see it in person, it's like nah, that's muscle.
Oh
That's
no,
muscle.
she's ripped. Yeah. Because he owns a wrestling gym that's right next to the coffee shop, and so they'll come right after. Yeah. So they'll come either before or after the wrestling, and so yeah, they'll come in and she'll just be in like her workout stuff, and yeah, you can see that she's ripped. And it was funny too because this was before I knew they were together. Before they like announced that they were together, I remember I was hanging out and I was like, why are Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins together? Like this was years ago. I was like, this is so. Why are they? Becky's checking me out. Why? Oh yeah, I like this. That's cool that she's over here though. And then yeah, it was like a month or two later, like Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins are dating. I was like, she ain't checking me out. I was so stupid. Why was I thinking she was checking me out?
Thought you had a chance.
I did for like 2 seconds. Oh man, but okay. So if Cody and Seth win, then Cody gets a one-on-one match with Roman night 2. The other way around. If The Rock and Roman win, then it is Bloodline Rules, anything goes, night 2, which will basically all but say Roman should win night 2. I don't think there's a world where like we need the chaos for night 2. So I think somehow, some way, Roman and The Rock win. I don't know who it is, but I feel like somebody is going to screw them over. I think it might be Drew McIntyre, or it's going to be CM Punk. It's going to be somebody.
So one of the things that I have Sirius XM and I listen to Busted Open quite a bit in the mornings. And for those out there that don't like, they have Bubba Ray, Mark Henry, Tommy Dreamer. They just added Nick Nemeth, Dolph Ziggler on the show recently. And like, of course, they're giving their perspectives, not just as fans, but also as, wrestlers. And one of the things that Bubba pointed out last week was there was a scene backstage. It was actually with Ms. Truth, and it might have been the Judgment Day. I'm not sure, but like in the back of the camera shot was Drew McIntyre talking to Paul Heyman.
Oh yeah,
and I was just like, and of course, like the way that the Triple H has been working in those nuggets here and there, it's been such a breath of fresh air. But I do wonder, like, long story short, like, there's no way you can have the world title match at the end of night 2 without the chaos. I feel like it's absolutely asking for it, especially if you are looking for a great climactic end to this particular part of the story. It's like, hey, we're going all out, all the fireworks, all the bells and whistles. So like, hey, this is it. This is the moment that everybody's been waiting for, and it's going to go out with a bang, and so then we can pivot on to the next story. And yeah, you're going to get. I feel like you're going to get, especially with the way that Raw ended on this past Monday. I feel like they're not Rock and Roman are not just going to win. They're going to win pretty handily, to the point where there'll probably be some type of post match beat down to where you really doubt whether or not both Cody and Seth are going to be well enough for their matches on Sunday. And of course we'll talk about those two matches in a quick second.
Yay. So actually, I think the way that I'm gonna set this up is I'm gonna do this in 2 splits. I'm gonna split up day 1 and day 2. So we're just gonna say this is the end of this episode, and you just go ahead and hit day 2, and we'll see you in just a second.